Welcome to La Trobe University. We hope you enjoy today's ceremony. Can we please ask that all members of the audience be upstanding for the academic procession?
La Trobe University acknowledges the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation as the traditional custodians of the land upon which this Melbourne campus is located. We pay our respects to their elders, past and present. Please be seated. I declare this to be a ceremony authorised by La Trobe University, at which I shall, with the authority of the Academic Board, confer degrees and award diplomas and certificates. But before we start the formal processes, I'd like to welcome everyone, welcome the students, and particularly welcome the families. You've got your students to this particular point in their life, and I'm sure it's not been an easy path the whole way. And I know many of you have made great sacrifices to shepherd these students through to this point. You've probably made great financial sacrifices, and I'm sure you've spent an enormous amount of time encouraging them, perhaps just supporting them when things haven't gone so well, and just the act of celebrating with them when things have gone well just encourages them to stay the course. So they've made wonderful achievements today, and although they don't always say it to you directly, I'm sure that they, in their hearts, actually do appreciate what you've done for them. So thank you very much to the parents, the grandparents, the families and the other supporters who are here today. And for the students, well, you've done it. The families did help you, but you did it yourselves with that support. And congratulations. I'm sure it's been an exciting 3 years. It's probably had its ups and downs. But I hope that you've come away with a few things from La Trobe University. Of course, I hope you've had a wonderful time and that you now have your professional qualification. But I hope that you've learned a couple of things, the most important of which is to have learned how to learn. Because it's absolutely clear that with the rate of the advancement of knowledge, the advancement of technology, what you've learned today is just a foundation for what you'll need in the future. So you need to really be of the mindset, and I hope you've got that mindset, of there's always something new to learn and to keep up with your profession. So that's one thing. I hope you've also learned how to be sceptical and to look at data, not just go along with the herd, just not repeat what your friends have said necessarily. Look for the information behind an opinion that you form, because people will look to you as the leaders of your societies, and you need to think carefully before you pronounce about one of the issues that comes up at the day. Be sceptical. Look for the data. It's a good mantra to have, show me the data. Just show me the data before you form an opinion. And the final thing I hope that you've learned, not so much learned, but the experience of making good friends. I think this last 3 years or so is a very formative time of your life, and friendships are formed on the basis of shared experiences. So this time in your life you've had lots of shared experiences, and I hope you've made really good friends, because it's those friends that will weave in and out of your lives as you go into the future, and those friends will come back in ways that you can't really anticipate now, and will help you along the way as you will help them along their way. So my very best wishes to you, congratulations, and my very best wishes for an exciting and contributive future. And now we turn to the formal part of the ceremony. And our first wonderful task is to read the citation for Professor Andrew Brennan, who is installed as an emeritus professor. Professor Brennan was born in Kirkcaldy, Scotland, and educated at the local high school, and then won a residential scholarship to St Andrews University. He did postgraduate work at the University of Calgary and then at Oxford University, and began teaching as a tutor at St Catherine's and Worcester Colleges. His first position as a lecturer in philosophy was at the University of Stirling in Scotland. Interestingly, this university, Stirling, was formed in the same year as La Trobe, 1967. Andrew came to Australia in 1992 to take the chair of philosophy at the University of Western Australia. And during that time at the University of Western Australia, he travelled and studied at other universities, the Free University of Brussels, University of Oslo, City University of Hong Kong. Then he held a number of research grants from the Australian Research Council, the Norwegian Research Council, and the City University of Hong Kong. And he was an evaluator for the Dutch and European Research Councils, and then for a number of years he was the philosophy expert on the College of Experts of the Australia Research Council, which is our prestigious government granting body, and this really sets the academic standards. So in 2006, Professor Brennan moved to Melbourne and took the chair of philosophy at La Trobe, and within a short time became Associate Dean for Research, then in the then Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences. In 2009, he was appointed Pro Vice-Chancellor for Graduate Research, and under his leadership, higher degree student management and training has been restructured, higher degree enrolments have increased by more than 25%, and the new School of Graduate Studies was established last year. But his true passion remains philosophy. He worked initially on the philosophy of mind, and his first book was called The Conditions of Identity, and his second book, published in the same year, was on an entirely different topic, which was thinking about nature. It was a major contribution to the emerging field of environmental philosophy, and in recognition of its influence, the book was republished last year. He is also a contributing author of the 5th assessment report for the IPCC, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, which was published last year. Along with his collaborator and colleague Nor Velo, he's the co-author of the most widely used resource in environmental ethics in the world. It's an online article in the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy, which has been accessed more than 100,000 times each year since 2011. Together, they've published recently in a range of other research areas, from environmental philosophy to animal ethics, public policy, history and philosophy of science, philosophical methodologies, and questions of suffering, forgiveness, and human dignity. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please join me in congratulating Professor Andrew Brennan on his appointment as Emeritus Professor of La Trobe University. Congratulations. Thank you. I now turn to introducing our occasional speaker for this graduation, and it's Mr. David Henschke. David Henschke grew up on a 10,000 hectare sheep and grain farm in the South Australian Mallee. He studied agriculture at Adelaide's University Roseworthy College in the early 1980s, and as the eldest of 3 siblings, was destined to spend his life farming. In the early 1990s, the Australian wool industry crashed, and the farm income of their family dropped 70%, forcing the family to sell a large portion of their farm land. And at age 28, David left farming and moved to Armidale in New South Wales, where he graduated from the University of New England with a graduate diploma in agricultural economics and a Master of Business Administration. In 1994, David then moved to Melbourne and joined the Boston Consulting Group, where he just worked as a management consultant. 3 years later, he joined Equigen, a technology startup which focused on credit and profitability scoring software for financial institutions. In 2001, the company was sold to Data Advantage, which is now known as Veda, Australia's largest credit bureau. David remained at Data Advantage for another 3 years and then spent 8 years as managing director of a steel construction company before joining Property Exchange, PEXA, 2.5 years ago. PEXA is also a technology startup which has developed the National Electronic Conveyancing Platform to digitise Australia's 2 million annual property transactions. David's current role is the Chief Corporate Development Officer, responsible for the company's strategy and business planning functions as well as innovation. Of course, David also has an interest in the family winery, Hentley Farm, which was voted in 2015 Winer of the Year by James Halliday. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please join me in welcoming David Henschke.
Thank you, Chancellor. Academic staff, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, and most importantly you, the graduates receiving your degrees today. Now, unlike many of you who still have no idea what you want to do in your professional lives, I was always going to be a farmer, as the Chancellor said. Henschkes have been farming in this country since 1842, when our first sort of peasant Germans arrived in the Barossa Valley. Foolishly, though, in the early 1900s, my great-grandfather decided it was a good idea to move to the Murray Mallee, the hot, dry, dusty place in South Australia. And that's where they've stayed until now. Farming certainly built resilience in me. From the experience of devastating droughts where you literally see the farm blow away, to watching a lush green crop wither in a hot north wind. Now, my father is a smart man, but not formally educated. He had to leave school at 15 to help my grandfather on the farm. Dad used to say, he learned how to farm from my grandfather. And my grandfather learned how to farm from my great-grandfather. And my great-grandfather didn't have a bloody clue how to farm. Now, Dad always regretted not studying longer, so he insisted if I wanted to be a farmer, which I did, I had to go to university. So off I went to Roseworthy Ag College, which is now part of Adelaide Uni, to study farm management. In hindsight, it was really a drinking diploma and a lot of fun, but that's a different story. I came back and spent 6 years on the farm after graduating, and we built up a pretty big enterprise. We cropped about 2,000 hectares per annum, and we shore 20,000 sheep per annum. But in 1989, the wool industry crashed, and our farm income dropped 70%, like the Chancellor said, and we had to sell 2/3 of the farm. Suddenly I was the labourer again, drenching sheep and knocking fence posts in, and it just wasn't fun anymore. And so I decided to leave, and that's where I packed up a young family. I had 2 young children and a wife, and off I went to Armidale to study first agricultural economics full-time, and then I realised that I wasn't going to be an economist, so I did an MBA. Out of that, I was fortunate enough to get a job at the Boston Consulting Group in Melbourne. Now, the Boston Consulting Group's an international strategy management company, and for the last 20-odd years has been voted in the top 10 best places to work, alongside the likes of Apple and Google recently. Now, that was... The interesting thing, though, was I was a bit like Crocodile Dundee in New York. You know, I was totally out of my depth. One day I was sort of a farm boy, then suddenly I'm sort of advising directors and senior management in Australia, some of the biggest corporates in Australia. Now, life has a sort of funny way of sort of working things out, and I've got a few lessons that I want to share with you. First lesson number 1. Unexpected things do happen in life, and life isn't always fair. So whatever careers you're now setting off to do, it's unlikely you'll be doing the same thing in 10 years. In fact, you're likely to have 10 or more careers in your lifetime. Your education, though, gives you options. Regardless of the disciplines you've studied, and many of you will do postgraduate studies, or have just recently done postgraduate studies, and I know a lot of people with arts degrees now who are leaders in business and technology. So the lesson is keep an open mind, embrace change, and don't get too hung up about finding that lifelong career now. Going back to my days at BCG, it was daunting and I had to work my butt off, you know, regularly working 60-odd hours a week. Now, I'm not saying that's the right thing to do going forward, but you learned a lot in a very short space of time. Every 6 to 12 months, you're put on a new project with a different client in a different industry, and I still vividly recall that anxiety of when you went into a new place in a new industry that you had no idea about, let alone the 3-letter acronyms that they all used. But you learned how to learn fast, to ask lots of questions, to work out what's important, and to work out how to cope with change. So my second lesson to you, don't be afraid of change or fear not knowing what you're doing when you go in your first job. It takes up to about 3 months to know a company well and an industry well. So all I say is ask lots of questions. There's no such thing as a dumb question when you start. Good managers will give you the time and the support you need to learn. In 1997, I left BCG and joined a couple of my BCG colleagues in a startup called Equigen. Now, Equigen was one of the first in the world to build credit scoring algorithms and software that ran on a PC. And I was employee number 12 out of a eventual 80-odd. Money was tight and everything was paid by our credit cards. I clearly remember our CEO, Marcus Price, who, by the way, is a La Trobe University alumni, telling me shortly after I started that if we didn't sign a major contract in 3 weeks, we run out of money and you're all out of a job. Now, that was a bit concerning, given I had 4 young kids and a big mortgage, but it certainly motivated you. Certainly one way to motivate you anyway. Luckily, we won that contract and many more to come. Now, the environment at Equigen was exciting, and we're coming up with these great ideas all the time. We were innovative before it came so new age. We hired smart people and who were team players, and we created this collaborative environment which fostered creative thinking and problem solving. We sold that company for a $60 million valuation 4 weeks before the 2001 dot-com crash. Sometimes luck does go your way. And that leads me to my third lesson. Your future careers, as with life, is a lot about luck. It's often about being in the right place at the right time, and there's a whole lot of things out of your control. However, I do follow the doctrine that the harder and smarter you work, the luckier you'll be. You just have to keep creating opportunities for yourselves to be lucky. Since 2013, after Ecogen, I worked with some private equity friends of mine, spent some time at Telstra, and bought my own construction business. We fabricated and erected these big buildings around Melbourne, such as universities and hospitals. For the first 7 out of 8 years, I loved that job. The autonomy I got and the intrinsic value of actually seeing these great engineering structures built. However, then came the GFC. And when that kicked in, things got pretty tough, and we got screwed over on a couple of big contracts, and basically, I lost all my money. Like I said before, life doesn't always go your way. So lesson number 4. One of the best skills you can develop is resilience. Now, it's been well researched that modern parents smother their young and don't allow them to experience failure. There are these so-called helicopter or mower parents who mow down all obstacles in their progeny's path. Nice, but it doesn't really help your future. You need to learn how to pick yourself up when you invariably will fail. It's better to learn these skills when you're young, but if you haven't, you need to start preparing yourself. Now, whether it's when you first get dumped by your girlfriend or your boyfriend, or all those rejected job applications that you'll have, or redundancy, or when your great entrepreneurial venture bombs. Trust me, the sun will still coming up each day, and your family and friends will still love you. Of course, unless you've talked them into investing in your bombed venture. Now, since 2013, I've been working at PEXA in charge of strategy and innovation. Now, PEXA has built a world-first electronic conveyancing platform that allows all property transactions to be conducted online. Now, most of you would not have bought or sold land and probably think it's all done online anyway. However, it's been a very inefficient and error-riddled process for the better part of 150 years. Something like 20% of all property settlements are delayed due to inefficient processes and errors. Now, PEXA is a true technology disruptor, and we will help change the way people get mortgages and buy and sell property. PEXA has raised over $200 million to deploy this system, so we're not your typical startup. Now, my role is helping PEXA identify where the future opportunities and threats are and build a highly innovative team. Now, we've done pretty well in that aspect. Recently, PEXA won a couple of awards, including Best Overall Innovation at the 2015 Most Innovative Company Awards, and it was assessed 11th Most Innovative Company in Australia. There are over 1,000 innovations from 500 different companies across Australia, so we're very proud of this achievement. In building an innovation company, I believe the essential components are: create a clear and meaningful vision of where you want the company to go and a set of values that everybody lives by. B, employ smart, inquisitive people that work well together in teams. And 2 and 3, very importantly, don't sack anyone for failing. We want our people to take some risks. Make the same mistake 3 times and that's just stupidity. However, allowing risk, encouraging risk is fundamental for generating solutions. So that leads me to my 5th and final lesson. Some of you will need to modify your style. People that can't work in team environments, are self-centred, or don't treat everyone with dignity and respect will not succeed in the modern workplace. Companies, particularly the good ones, are putting far more emphasis on selecting the right people that fit their culture, and are far more proactive in letting go people that can't work collaboratively. You're all starting your lives, your careers, an exciting time in history when technology is driving massive changes in the way we live and work. It's been called the second machine age, where digital technologies are having a similar effect as the invention of the steam engine and the resultant industrial revolution of the early 1700s and late 1800s. Those of you who prove to be adaptable to change will fare best. There are also many more opportunities for women in senior roles. All good companies are focusing on diversity because they realise a diverse and collaborative team makes far better and more creative decisions. Companies are being more proactive in setting real gender targets at all levels and working out ways to attract more women into management careers. In closing, congratulations on graduating today, and I wish every one of you success in your life and careers. Good luck and thank you.
Thank you very much for those wonderful life lessons from someone who's lived and succeeded, failed and succeeded again. There'll be a formal vote of thanks at the end of the ceremony. I now call upon Professor Tony McGrew, Pro Vice-Chancellor, College of the Arts, Social Sciences and Commerce, on behalf of the Academic Board.
Chancellor, I certify to you and to the University that the candidates who will be presented to you today and those listed as in absentia have fulfilled the conditions prescribed for the award of their degrees, diplomas and certificates, and therefore are entitled to those awards. Will the candidates who have qualified for the various awards please stand?
By virtue of the authority vested in me, I confer the degrees and award the diplomas and certificates for which you and those listed as in absentia have qualified. Please be seated. I now call upon Professor Amalia de Iorio, Associate Pro Vice-Chancellor of Academic Partnerships, College of the Arts, Social Sciences and Commerce, to present the graduates.
Chancellor, on behalf of the College of Arts, Social Sciences and Commerce, I present to you the graduates who are receiving the following awards. Bachelor of Business. Sanya Asanova. Karan Bajaja. Stephanie Wing Lam Chung. Jackson Brian Kiminello. Kwong Chung Chu. Sherry Chu. Jason Chung. Marlo Jane Collier. Ramez Dabu. Sosina Desi. Matthew Di Felice. Christina Catherine Dinopoulos. Christopher Michael Duck. Jonas Eleferiadis. Jian Long Fan. Callum Peter Fernside. Alexander Patrick Garver. Vlad Grigore. Adrian Nicholas Halal. Jake Stephen Holding. Jay Huang. Annabelle Margaret Kent. Supriya Lal. Hannah Leo. Xin Yu. Benjamin Ronald Nelson Maud. Casey Elizabeth Menya. Kieran Charles Menzies. Jeremy George Mercado. Jia Hui Mo. Saba Tassim Mughal. Ellen Eileen Myers. Philip Anthony Naselli. Jack Newen. Rose Van Nguyen. Xiao Pei. Catherine Perry. Tan Tung Pham. T Ha Tan Pham. Matthew Ian Donald Prentice. Nadia Rahimi. Cassandra Josephine Ruggiero. Anastasia Soldatos. Darcy Allen Stevenson. Curtis Peter Taylor. Michael Thermos. Betul Tok. Emily Jane Townsend. Imogen van der Hoven. Monica Cecilia Vidal Aliaga. Phuoc Lap Vo. T. Gaia Vo. Feng Wang. Matthew Brian Weisenfeld. Hao Ling Wen. Wiki Wenzhen. Si Hao Xiang. Zinzu. Binyi Yang. Tian Yu Zhang. Shuang Li Xiao. Qi Lung Zong. Zhang Fen Zhao. Jin Zhao. Xin Hang Zhao. Bachelor of Business, Human Resource Management. Jessica Beninato. Amy Kate Burrows. Anup Kaur Dillon. Benjamin Charles Gerbert. Renee Hunt. Emma Christina Carlson. Jessica Lee Leach. Chloe Rose Manson. Emily Hannah McCallum. Stephanie Marie Mellon. Stephanie Petrovska. Dion Andre Philistine. Jenna Louise Quattrucci. Mary Savova. Goz Denise Tunzer. Jun Wan. Tennille Marie White. Kate Rachel Wilton. Bachelor of Business, Leadership and Management. Zina Mazloum. Kathleen Phuong Yuan Nguyen. Bachelor of Commerce. Reina Atmaka. Bachelor of Economics. Camila Rodriguez de Souza Rocha Pinto. Bachelor of International Business. Peter Junior Ado. Yun Sung Cho. Fevzi Emre Gurel. Jali Lee. Si Yu Lee. Zinzin Lee. Yi Jun Liu. Jordan Louise Mackay. Kian Nan Meng. Jia Qing Shi. Jeffrey Stelmack. Lei Lei Sun. Jia Hian Vu. Rosa Holly Ward. Wei Yao. Rui Ying. Dewa Agung Yudhishthira. Sheng Zeng. Bachelor of Journalism. Johanna Erin Brescia. Taylor Joyce Burrows. Cecilia Francis Di Stefano. Steffi Duras. Christina Elizabeth Egger. Nicholas Declan Harrison. Tam Robert Kendi. Keandra Rose Lane. Laura Emily Martin. Michael Francis Martino. Tiana Matliowski. Bethany Jane McAuliffe. Jolie June Sherry Mitchell. Christina Jane Molinaro. Stephanie Molinaro. Ashley Kate Schultz. Madison Page Stafford. Kimberly Ann Thompson. Nida Sarahman. Rebecca Zakur. Bachelor of Journalism Sport. Tom Robert Parker. Bachelor of Politics, Philosophy and Economics, Brianna Jade Norman. James Ottaway. Ariel Cassandra Patterson. Samuel Michael Quinlan. Master of Business Administration. Othman Abulugod. Diksha Arora. Stephen Bown. Man Cow. Ingrid Gotts. Francis Hegarty. Rushan Hawawasam. Kritsada Kanlaya Sirivat. Victoria Jambi Kibiru. Rory McDonald. Fiona McGill. Christopher Murphy. Jennifer Margaret Page. Amber Brodie Pawsey. Well done. Andrew Charles Tomlinson. Well done. Stephen Edward Russell Worcester. Well done. Master of Business Information Management and Systems. Diana Nikita Asanji. Ajay Kumar Bandari. Suresh Kumar Kanadgara. Sindhu Malasani. Karan Mohan. Teja Chandra Nagai Panketti. Jamie Alberto Osorio Moreno. Sandhya Hardik Patel. Dinashika Priyangani Rashing. Surendran Ravi Chandran. Trisha Rudresh. Varun Saini. Shitresh Suresh. Alejandra Valendes Vital. Santosh Virakoti. Harit Yadav. Master of International Business, Tan Ann Bui. Yuzin Kao. Jin Chen. Hoi Yin Cheng. Antoine Don. Nu Quinn An Dong. Suyesh Garg. Ho Viet Tuan Le. Quinn Lin Nguyen. Tan Hai Nguyen. T Tui Lin Nguyen. Tran Phuong Nguyen. T Hong Phuc Pham. Tat Min Nat Ton. Kwok Luan Tran. Master of Management, C. Min Chen. Shandana Khan. Min Duk Nguyen. Pallavi Milind Wagmare. Master of Management, Entrepreneurship and Innovation, Maria Isabel Correa Restrepo. Fahad Yaqub Elai. T. Tan Na Than. Dolapon Vici Nekua. Master of Management, Human Resource Management. Yogita Chantari. Shi Yu Liu. Jenny Andrea Martinez Gonzalez. Esha Tukral. Undertaking a doctorate has often been described as being a life-changing experience, and candidates who have made it through to today, to graduation, will no doubt attest to the fact that their journey has been very significant and has required them to make many sacrifices and push themselves well beyond the point of comfort. On paper, the process of reaching today seems relatively straightforward. A candidate of a doctoral degree has between 3 and 4 years full-time or its part-time equivalent to undertake a research project and to present their findings in a thesis or similar body of work. The thesis is 60 to 80,000 words and is expected to make an original and substantial contribution to new knowledge. The research undertaken must be of the highest standard. Each thesis is examined by a panel which includes internationally recognised experts. Often their comments and criticisms will require the candidate to revise and possibly resubmit their thesis. Our doctoral candidates may have had a scholarship or have worked full-time or part-time to support themselves during their candidature. Many have families. The successful completion of a doctoral degree is a major and hard-won achievement for the individual and for their supervisors. Our doctoral graduates are everywhere. They may be applying their deep disciplinary knowledge in a research or academic environment as a scholar, or, as many doctoral graduates have chosen to do, they are now applying their research and project management skills as professional practitioners in a wide range of industries, both in Australia and overseas. Congratulations to you all. From us at La Trobe, your college, school and departments, and the Graduate Research School. May you savour this moment and may you have every success in applying what you have learnt and come to understand through your future career and your ventures. Doctor of Philosophy. Hello. Nikolai Cunningham Alskinis, whose thesis entitled Content-Free Cognition, a path towards response-based intelligence. Dr. Alskinis queried whether we can explain feelings and actions while denying we have thoughts about the world. He argued that intelligence is a set of elaborate responses to certain situations. The findings show that traditional theories of mind, as composed of thoughts, ideas, and representations, are best replaced by response-based accounts of intelligence. I present to you Dr. Elksnitz. Ashley Jane Greenwood, whose thesis entitled Silence and Speech, Ashaninka Identities After Violence. Drawing on fieldwork conducted in Peru, this thesis uses the story of Ashkaninka to motivate a philosophical exploration into the acts of silence and of speech. These drive how identities are formed, maintained, and reinvented across history. I present to you Dr. Greenwood. Nimika Chidibera Merib, whose thesis is entitled Communicating Climate Change to Rural Nigeria, Challenges and Prospects. Dr. Narib explored climate change communication in a Nigerian rural community, drawing on interviews with farmers and professional journalists. His findings, which have implications for food security, identify a need for more participatory and integrated communication approach, one combining Indigenous African communication systems and mobile networked media. I present to you Dr. Marie. Christopher Matthew Mildren, whose thesis is entitled Comedy in European Modernist Long-Take Cinema, an analysis of stylistic hybridity and spectator agency. This thesis looked at the films of 4 European directors, Miklos Jornchau, Jacques Tati, Roy Anderson and Sergio Caballero. These directors are recognised internationally for their modernist use of the long take. By investigating their satirical and experimental use of comedy, this thesis refined what we mean by European art cinema. I present to you Dr. Mildren. David Wembari, whose thesis is entitled The Evolution of Commemoration in Post-Genocide Rwanda, 1994 to 2013. Dr. Wembari studied the evolution of commemoration in post-genocide Rwanda. Following the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi, a culture of remembering emerged from ordinary citizens' practices and evolved into an institutionalised official memory. Using both primary and secondary sources, this thesis explores how official memory developed in post-genocide Rwanda and its manifestations through law, institutions, art and media. I present to you Dr. Wembari. Wilasini Panakonsab, whose thesis is entitled Cross-Cultural Relationships and Cyberspace, the work of Thai women's imagination in intermarriage online dating. Dr. Panakonsab examined Thai women's experiences in initiating, developing and maintaining online cross-cultural relationships with Western men. The contribution of this study lies in two main areas: the intricacies of women's self-managed pursuit of cross-cultural relationships via intermarriage dating sites, and the dynamic of cross-cultural relationships via cyberspace. I present to you Dr. Pana Kono-Honsab. Hello. Henry John Paternoster, whose thesis is entitled Reimagining Class, Australian Marxist Class Analysis in the 1980s. The concept of class remains an important part of how Australians understand themselves and discuss the society in which they live. Through a critique of how class has been interpreted in the past, this thesis sought to better understand how it can be studied in the future. I present to you Dr. Paternoster. Melinda Lee Rankin, whose thesis is entitled The Political Life of Mary Calder, Civil Society in the State of the Legitimacy of Organised Violence. This dissertation is an intellectual biography of Mary Calder. It explores and interprets the political and intellectual formation of Calder from her privileged beginnings through her life as a public intellectual who has influenced some of the most significant debates in international relations. I present to you Dr. Rankin. Brian Thomas Rule, whose thesis is entitled Temples of Bacchus, Temperance and Protestant Morality in Victoria, 1837 to 1908. Dr. Rule investigated the colonial temperance movement as an agent of religious and social reform in Victoria between 1837 and 1908. He argues that temperance work essentially reflected Protestant notions of morality and a related commitment to evangelical mission in the temporal world. I present to you Dr. Rule. Chancellor, that concludes the presentation of graduates.
Graduates, honoured guests, colleagues, Chancellor. On behalf of the University, I wish to thank David Henschke, our engaging occasional speaker. His remarks speak to the ambitions of our graduates, the class of 2015. His 5 lessons are wise advice. They reinforce the importance of practical, not just theoretical knowledge. And they are lessons for our graduates, which I believe your studies at La Trobe has prepared you exceptionally well. Please join me in acknowledging our special appreciation to David for his thought-provoking address. So today is a very special moment in the university calendar. It's a day of unqualified celebration. Celebration in particular of all our graduates' significant achievements. And those achievements are all the much more impressive since our academic staff and our academic programs are rightly demanding not only of our students' intellects, but their virtues of dedication, commitment, and determination to succeed. As graduates, you should be rightly proud that all your hard work, the many hours of study, and the self-sacrifice has paid off. Here today, we recognize publicly your achievements alongside your family and friends. So, to the class of 2015, I congratulate you wholeheartedly on your signal accomplishments. Of course, without family and friends, those achievements would probably have been that much more difficult to attain. That family and friends have traveled some significant distances to be here today, to share in this celebration, is testament of their unqualified support, let alone their financial, practical, and emotional assistance over many years. No doubt our graduates have expressed their appreciation to you, but I ask them now to do so collectively, to family and to friends. Finally, to the academic staff sitting beside me who have inspired, directed, and supported your studies over years, let us acknowledge our appreciation. Today, you graduate from a university with a global reputation as one of the world's top 50 universities under 50 years of age. A university which is also in the top 10 in Australia for its world-class research. A university, too, which has a long tradition of being the difference through translating knowledge into the public good, from our research in public health to our work in the creative arts. That tradition is rooted in the remarkable legacies of many exceptional individuals who have shaped the La Trobe story. Amongst them, Charles La Trobe, our namesake, who was a fervent advocate of universal education for the common good. Professor Jean Martin, whose pioneering sociological research did much to advance the cause of social justice in Australia. And to our first Vice-Chancellor, Professor David Myers, who promoted a radical vision of a university in which academic excellence is combined with social inclusion. As graduates, you too will be contributors to the future of this La Trobe story. Today, you become members of a global community of La Trobe alumni, a community of 170,000, spanning all continents, all professions, and all walks of life. As alumni, I would ask you to keep in touch with us. Let us know what you're up to, but of course only if it's legal. And should you become rich, and indeed extremely rich, we'll certainly be in direct contact with you, and not just on Facebook either. In a few minutes' time, you, our graduates, will be requested to join the academic procession as it leaves the hall. This invitation symbolizes the fact that you are no longer students, but fully fledged members of our La Trobe academic community. It's a defining moment for you all. Stepping across that threshold marks the beginning of a new, exciting, and open chapter of possibilities in your lives. Step across it with confidence, embrace opportunities with enthusiasm, and in the knowledge that there is something special about being a member of the La Trobe family. That leads me to conclude. One of the key shapers of our information age, Steve Jobs, delivered an inspirational graduation address at Stanford University in 2005, and you can watch the highlights on YouTube if you would like to. His advice to new graduates is timeless. and I quote, "Don't be trapped by dogma, which is living with the results of other people's thinkings. Don't let the noise of others' opinions drown out your own inner voice. And most important, have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. Somehow they truly know what you want to be." I wish each and every one of our graduates great success in your future careers. And now it's time to get on with the celebrations and the partying. Thank you. Honoured guests, graduates, colleagues, that concludes the formal part of this morning's ceremony. You're invited to join the Chancellor and other members of the university for refreshments in the foyer. Graduates, in recognition of your new status within the university community, you're invited to join the academic procession as it leaves the hall. Please, will you stand?